Good. Outstanding.
Talking to David yesterday, obviously, just about kind of needs off-season and kind of looking at areas of he kind of points to pitching as maybe the area that we're looking at. He's obviously had a nice finish to the year last year with a group of pitchers that he felt good about. Just if you kind of feel what maybe needs to happen for, I guess, that next step that you guys are trying to take in 2026, improvements that can maybe help you get to that goal that you want to reach.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we start with the pitching side of it, right, we talk about the improvements that we made in the pitching over the last probably 4 months, and I think a lot of it had to do with actually the improvement we made on defense. I think that helped in ways, outside of just the data type of numbers. It helped with the confidence that the guys had in being able to execute pitches in the zone and be confident we were going to get outs and be able to defend. So, at any point, everyone wants to add pitching. The depth that you need to get through a season, the adversity that takes place throughout the course of the season. If we can add starting pitching, it's only going to help, right? I think for our club right now, we've seen the transition of the position group over the last 2 seasons take place, the success that they've had, and no one can argue that against the fact that our position group is our strength. And I think we're in a position here now where the young, talented pitchers are in a very similar kind of spot. And they may be a little bit younger than what our group was. If you look at and identify the guys that we've, look to be impactful pitchers in our future, which is Gage Jump and Arnold and Echeverria. We got Morales to the big leagues. You've got kids like Morris, Nett, Baez. So there's some names there. There's a group there that I think, the development of that group is going to really help us and maybe catapult us on the pitching side. But by all measures, if we can add some pitching, I'd welcome it with open arms for sure.
That position player group, obviously, Kurtz and Wilson finishing on the rookie of the year. Just when you look back at kind of the impact they had, and just kind of knowing that those two headlined the group that you mentioned, I guess how good is that, just knowing that core is in place here for a while?
Yeah, and it's great to know that, the core group of position guys can possibly be together for, an extended period of time, led by, a rookie of the year and another rookie that finished second, right, in the voting. So really exciting group. Tyler Soderstrom is a really exciting piece of that group. Shea Langley-Ayers is also Rooker, Butler. You get those 6 guys in that core group kind of going forward together. I think that the continuity, the culture, can only elevate our success. And I know that the last 3 months, 4 months of the season, outside of that 20-game stretch we went through, we had a legitimate opportunity to make a season, really successful. And it's just unfortunate that the adversity that we took on in May really impacted, the total number of wins we were able to achieve.
David mentioned potential extensions for some of those young guys, and I guess it's kind of a change from, recent times. We saw last year with guys like Rooker and Butler. Just what's like just kind of knowing that these talks are just keep going on, and maybe the effort is there to kind of keep these guys.
There's a big effort there to keep this group together. There really is. And I know and ownership is making that effort, which, as you talk about, is a change, right? If you look at the group prior to this, that you could identify as a group that you would have wanted to move forward with, the group that came together in 17 and 18 and 19. The resources weren't there to afford to keep that group together. I think there's a vision and a future here going forward with this group that we're able to at least get those opportunities out in front of these players. But at the same point, it takes 2 to come to the table and reach that agreement and make that commitment. And that's going to be ultimately at the end of the day the challenge. These players have had really successful starts to their career, and not that hurts us, because it really helps us. But at the same point, it at times can be difficult for a player I've sat in those shoes to make that commitment prior to, really hitting a pinnacle in your career and taking advantage of that opportunity monetarily. So, but we're hopeful that we can get it done, and I think we've got, 2 guys that have made that commitment that are really supportive, and that will really push to get their, teammates on board.
Kotsay, you mentioned the young core, and obviously Wilson and Kurtz have been outstanding, Booker and Butler and everything. One of the things I'm wondering is, Denzel Clark obviously is amazing defensively, but where do you see him playing next year or so?
Well, the goal is to have Denzel in center field. The unfortunate injury, which led to him not being able to kind of come back and play in a what we want to say a sufficient amount of games to really evaluate his future. There's a few of those guys in that kind of category. Max Muncy being another one of a young talented player. But for us, Denzel solidified an area on the defensive side that we were really lacking to start the season. And it showed. It impacted games. For me, Denzel can be that same player if we can get him on the field for 140 games and let him go out and control center field. The offensive side is, to me, a bonus. We saw flashes, and the athleticism is in there. He was making some great adjustments at the plate, and I think that this coming season, he's got to come to spring training healthy and prepared to go out and be that impact player in the middle of the diamond.
One of the bigger offseason transactions is obviously J.J. Bleday being gone. Just kind of how tough is it to see a guy who always showed the glimpse of the potential, but it just couldn't come together? Yeah,
J.J. is an interesting player, and we as coaches feel, there's a level, like what we always talk about is we want to push the needle forward for players, and unfortunately last season we weren't able to accomplish that together with JJ. This was a decision, I think, where you look at the roster and you look at areas that we felt are a strength, and that is in the outfield with the players that we currently have, and at the end of the day, I think JJ is going to end up in a great place, and hopefully, he will, have a season that's reflective of his season 2 years ago. We were just not in a position, I think, to wait for that or to give him that full opportunity with the players that are currently, on the 40-man.
In regards to the farm system, I mean, we look at the lineup, there's a lot of homegrown talent there, and coming into this season, it's pretty strong, it's pretty loaded up on the pitching side, and now the hitter side just hasn't been able. Just how does it feel knowing that, the guys coming up, next up are going to be in a good position to develop the right way as they come up to the majors?
It's great. We went through that process where we gave players a lot of opportunity, a lot of leash to go through the ups and downs of their seasons, and I think what's exciting now is that there isn't that opportunity to go through those ups and downs, that there's enough talent on this roster, there's enough talent in this organization at the major league level to force guys to have to really go out and perform to push them out of their spots. And that says something about the guys that are there currently that have established themselves now, that we always talk about track records, and these guys have started to, put some numbers together that are track records. And when you can have 5-6 guys in a lineup and that go out and play every day, we talked about this, being able to write a consistent lineup also helps in the challenges of a season. But it's exciting to think about this upcoming season and our opportunity that lies in front of us to go out and have an impactful year and a winning season.
And then also, getting Brian Christensen, somebody that has familiarity with the organization, just how big is it to have him back outside of a nice calligraphy that I have on the lineup?
The lineup card is going to look good, that's for sure, right? Because I know Darren Bush isn't going to do it, but it's great to see a familiar face come back. He bleeds green. and the opportunity to bring him back presented itself this offseason. You know, he's a detailed type person. He's obviously been a bench coach for 8 years, you know, and I think he's going to have some impact with us. The position he's going to coach in with the outfielders and the first base role, you know, I think he's going to have immediate impact in the way we run the bases and the way we play the outfield.
Mark, with the seasons that Nick and Jacob had, how can you push the needle forward and help them avoid the dreaded sophomore slump?
Yeah, I think, you know, for both these young players, obviously there's going to be a high level of expectation on them. They'll probably put that on themselves, but I think our group does a good job with kind of insulating each individual on the roster. I think Rook takes a lot of that and shoulders it himself. You know, so they've got some players that have been through it, with Rook, with even Butler last season going through a little bit of a, you know, what do you call it, sophomore slump, or, you know, maybe not having the type of year he had the previous year. But still, I mean, a 2020 season, you know, you can't just turn your head on that. But, you know, Jacob and Nick have both had a high level of expectation on them throughout our, you know, their short window in the minor leagues or the team they played on in college. And I think they've handled it really well. You know, that being said, they're going to have to make adjustments. The league's going to make adjustments. And, you know, I'm confident that they're both athletic enough and they're both diligent enough to recognize those weaknesses and make those adjustments and continue on a trajectory of success.
On the team starting test, do you get questions or have discussions with guys about how aggressive are we going to be in the offseason?
Rook texts me quite a bit. Yeah, Rook throws some names at me even, but and that's welcome. I mean, I always tell our guys, hey, you pick up the phone, you text me, you know, any thoughts you've got, even, you know, during the off season, you know, I'm here for you. I'm here to help. I'm here to talk about it. Yes, these players are always, you know, at this point looking to add, you know, and make us better, which is great. That's their mindset. You know, I think for us as an organization, we look at, you know, the areas of need per se, and even though we have some homegrown players, as we talk about, you know, in the Max Muncy and the Daryl Hernais and the Brett Harris and Zach Geloff, that mix of guys competing for that second and third base spot that really, on our roster, we look at, you know, having to fulfill a need. They're also aware that you know, if we have an ability to go out and identify a player that has a track record that can come in and impact either of those two spots on the field, that they're all for it. So. Well, I mean, for us, it's difficult, right? And we're still in a situation where we're in Sacramento for 2 more years. You know, we are still in that trending up phase, right? I think had we maybe not gone through a season where we, you know, had some adversity in May and finished better, that maybe there was a perception that we were really ready to go. But I do think that we're right there, and we have an opportunity in this division to go out and be competitive all the way through September and win. So.
That's in your career, you made a pretty quick jump from college game to the major league game. Now we're seeing that more frequently. You got a couple guys here in field show for it. What is it about the college game in MLB today that makes that jump more feasible for more players?
Well, that's a great question. You know, for me, I mean, when I made that jump, I struggled. Even though, you know, I felt like I was ready, it's still challenging. And there's always nuances to the major league game that you have to learn and you have to go through, right? So for Jacob and Nick, I mean, they both are afforded a little bit more, you know, leniency, but they performed. They hit the ground running, right? We've had guys, I mean, you look at, and you mentioned J.J. Bleday, when he first came up with the Marlins, you know, it was difficult. He had to make adjustments. We traded for him in a time frame where we thought that there was, you know, more upside, and he had a great year. Unfortunately, there was a pullback from that. So the college game, you know, it's becoming closer and closer to a very high level of minor league baseball. I mean, you could identify guys on the LSU pitching staff that, I mean, you could probably just insert them in a bullpen and they'd get through an inning for sure because they're all 97 plus. So, it's funny, my son played in a area code game in Long Beach where he faced Hunter Pence's nephew or cousin who's throwing 100. And my son's 16, 17 years old. Like, I never saw 100 until I faced Rob Nin in the big leagues in 97. So, I think there is a level of preparedness by, the college player that there's some confidence in pushing them, but it's hard to balance, and we've seen that a few times with some highly talented players that come up and have to go back. But that's not a bad thing either. So.